Hey, gang. So a little late to the party on this one. I wanted to get Pariah's first episode out the door, so I spent most of this week just kind of refining some of the last shots for that, and hopefully got it all down. Let me know what you think of that one, and weekly roundup. Let's get this. So the roadmap roundup, not the weekly roundup. I guess that would be something else. Anyway, here we go. Notable changes. There's a lot of things on the list today, so I kind of wanted to get to all of them and then jump into the monthly report that has quite a bit of information on new ships. But let's go ahead and get into it. So, notable changes July 2nd, 2025, release view 421, new hairstyles. Now, they added 2 new hairstyles to 4.2, but I actually couldn't tell which ones they were. I think they were kind of the military hairstyles, but they kind of look so much like the other ones that I couldn't tell. So hopefully these are a little bit more noticeable, but I think what they were trying to say previously at the beginning of the year was that the hairstyles that they're aiming for now will be more quote unquote normal. So they have a little bit less they shouldn't stand out as much. But anyway, new hairstyles. Car's been set to tentative. I can't imagine that won't move to committed. Global event tracking service, implementing a new system allowing our systems to track players' progression across multiple shards. This system will first be used in conjunction with our new global event coming in Alpha 421. It can be found in the mobiGlas journal Second Life resource drive. That's kind of cool because that will be once dynamic server meshing comes in. Something like this will be absolutely critical, and I'll get to that in the monthly report. Missions collection, improving Wikilo's Emporium missions, allowing players to specifically focus on the ships and gear they want to unlock. So this was something that they mentioned on Friday's show, which, hey, that's the bonus of doing this late. So yeah, I'm doing it for you guys. But anyway, just with Wikilo's stuff, obviously people are getting a little bit upset that they'd go and they'd, do a line and mine or whatever, or fight, try to get elite combat pilots to spawn, and they wouldn't spawn. Eventually they would. So you get all these favors, and then you get like a red t-shirt or something. You wouldn't get the piece of armor that you wanted. So this way you can actually say, or you can take the mission that will give you a specific thing. So it's not just Russian roulette or gambling about what you'll get. So a little bit better deal will be dropping in the next patch. Obviously not this one. The car's been set to tentative, so might drop in the next patch, but pretty good chance, I'm guessing. Medium utility armor strata, corporation liveries. Adding a new medium arm or utility armor strata, corporation liveries, as rewards for participating in 421's global event. So these are kind of cool. These are Big Four specific. So ArtCorp, Hurston, Crusader, wow, Microtech. There we go. So it's all of those, and you kind of pick the one that you're going to do. In the Carnival, we're kind of true neutral is kind of our claim to fame. So we're going to try to do them all. We'll see if they'll actually let us or not. If not, Hurston lore-wise is kind of our sponsor. So we'll probably do it for Hurston first and then swing back and try to do it. So that's 421. 4.3. So they're starting to put 4.3 up here, which is the big thing we got this week. Cooperative zones. This is a neat one. Not an event, not a sandbox. Like contested zones, but the opposite, where investigation, puzzle solving, and cooperation with players around you will make completing objectives easier. Car's been set to tentative. Obviously, 4.3 will be dropping August or September. But I would think the only way that you could have it be the opposite of a contested zone is to have it within an armistice zone. So you literally can't engage in combat. I imagine people will be creative in the way that they will troll people, like they'll block them off from rooms and stuff. Who the hell knows? Especially if the award you get is better. Abandoned underground facilities is kind of a cool one. Located on every moon of the Stanton system These enormous multi-level structures are used for the new cooperative zones coming in Alpha 4.3. So it kind of sounds like these are going to be dungeon dives, like very large dungeon dives. So think Ruins of Undermountain kind of stuff, if you're old enough to remember what that is. Bolt Laser Sniper Zenith. So there's the sniper version. I don't know how you're going to be able to do a beam on that, but they'll figure it out. Sniper Light Armor Geist. This is probably the light armor that they showed off in SitCon when they were revealing the Valakar was dropping. Adding a new Sniper Light Armor Geist, specializing in stealth gameplay with high mobility. So not high armor, but high mobility. So be able to move faster. Medium Utility Armor Ambrose. Adding a new medium utility armor Ambrose coming in 4.3.x. Ambrose. I don't know, maybe salvage? They were talking about armors that when you use like the heavy utility guns, the armors would be designed to just siphon it directly into your backpack. So maybe it's something to do with that. I guess we'll find out. And new hairstyles, adding new additional hairstyles. I'm noting they didn't just say 2 here, so maybe they're going to be adding a few. Ladder improvements. So this is one we've been waiting for a while. They showed this off at SitCon 2 years ago, or yeah, maybe even more now, maybe 3. But there was a bunch of traversal options, which was sliding, ladders, swimming, and there's another one that I'm forgetting. I think it's the new prone animations or prone moving. I think they implemented prone at least partially, but they never implemented ladders, which ladders you're kind of on a rail now. Even if you have head tracking like I do, you can't look around when you're on a ladder. So it's basically just death if you get on a ladder and somebody sees you and starts shooting. So this will fix that. You'll be able to stop, look around, shoot, go back down, jump off, that kind of thing. So ladder improvements badly needed. Card's been set to tentative. AI FPS turrets. Notice that says FPS. Adding anti-personnel turrets for players to destroy or avoid, providing additional PvE challenges. Anyone that has gotten stuck in Klesher, which is probably all of you by now, have actually seen an FPS turret. It just hasn't been activated. When you get released and you go back to the elevator to go to the surface, there's an FPS turret there. It's never been actually on. It's just window dressing. Might actually become live pretty soon. Mission pickup on location, enabling new missions to be discovered and added to journals when you approach or enter a designated area. Yeah, so this is more specific locations. So I could almost think about this as, think about games like Skyrim, where you'll go to the town and there'll be about 10 or 15 people in the town that can actually give you missions, or you can pick up a journal entry or something like that, and it'll lead you on a mission to find the treasure or whatever. I think this is something like that. Wicklow Special Ships 4.3. Adding the following special ships to Wicklow's Imperium. Starlancer Tac, Drake Golem, Terrapin Medevac with upgrade components. Didn't they already have this one for... I wonder if they bounced this out of 4.2.1 because those sound familiar. That sounds familiar. These ships can be unlocked, bringing the NPC Wicklow a number of favors in exchange for awards. So that is it. I'm not going to bother going to the actual roadmap update because you just heard about it and it's the same write-up. So let's just go ahead and jump into the monthly report, shall we? And enjoy this video in the background that I will be running instead of just scrolling through words, which is not so fascinating to watch. So AI content, kicking things off as like they always do. The AI content team is focusing on wildline scripts. These are the things NPCs will say to each other or to themselves when they're not engaging with the NPCs, or, you know, when the NPCs are engaging with each other and not with the player. Or I guess sometimes with the player, like if they're hunting the player or not, but these are kind of background conversations or one-off lines, in other words. For right now, no big surprise that they're working on combat wild lines for gangs, which I imagine will play pretty well with the NPCs we'll be butting heads with in Squadron 42. The AI features team mostly focused on getting the Valakar working right, both the little ones and up to the giant girthworm. That's kind of an immediate one because you can see it in the sandbox activity going on Pyro right now. Pyro 1, I believe. I haven't had a chance to jump in on that extravaganza yet, but I'm hoping to probably about the time the next event drops with the new patch. It also sounds like they're spinning up some of the combat AI for the next level of awareness, being able to use special weapons like beam weapons and overheating lasers. Seems a safe bet that NPCs wielding railguns and Animus missile launchers, and maybe even ground vehicles, isn't too far off, and I'll get to that in a second. So imagine rolling up to a bunker and finding out they were roaming around in a tonk. Anyways, keeping with the theme of the year, a lot of time was spent with bug fixing as well. I swear I'm just going to come up with an acronym for this team, but I get it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. Actually, I get it. Hey, there we go. So when I say I get it, this is the team I'm talking about. They're prototyping the new mission system, which will lead to a lot of and then style missions where one mission might morph into another based on the goals. And yeah, lots of bug smushing. So just in case you thought I was spitballing that thing about the tonk for the AI features group, one of the things the AI tech team is working on is getting NPCs driving vehicles. And they're working hard to get it into the PU at some point. So yeah, look for that at some point. Of course, they're working on a lot of pathfinding for the NPCs. So working on the nav mesh, working on the NPC, finding a route around things from their own perspective, and for them to determine ways that are impassable to them. Ever played a game where you can lock up an NPC or like a monster that's charging you by, say, maneuvering them into a rock or a wall? Yeah, that's the kind of thing this tech will be avoiding. If they can get it working, they might actually get pretty close to realizing CR's dream of having NPCs that are largely indistinguishable from players, or at least the way players move around and interact with the world around them. Mostly. Lots of facial animation work for this team, working on NPCs and Stows and Walton, which, I mean, okay, obviously these are two NPCs, but they're not names that I recognize. Do you? Let me know in the down below bits. I'm guessing they're related to an upcoming event or sandbox activity. Lots of work with the narrative and mocap teams, which, okay, this isn't the mocap team part of the animation team. Anyways, they're working on a lot of facial animations. I'm kind of hoping this team will be switched over to reassessing the janky female animations and making a variety of different walk cycles and run cycles for all the characters, but obviously that isn't happening yet. And this is the big one that most of the content creators focus on. Interesting bit here was that on Friday, Jared mentioned that they were going to have information on one of his favorite ships, but not the jalopy. That's interesting because the only other ship Jared has coveted for a long, long time is the Genesis Starliner. We know they worked on the passenger loop a little bit a couple years back, to the point where I had thought when I was doing these Sprintwatches that I had thought the E1, which is the Crusader small C1 version passenger carrier, was going to be dropping imminently. But then they changed focus to Squadron 42, and a lot of those things were reprioritized. So is the Genesis Starliner in the cards? I mean, it could be. They've got a pretty good handle on the Crusader style guide, and they've got a couple big ships to pull from. I mean, it wouldn't be a big leap to go from like a C2 to a passenger liner. They're certainly working on a lot of ships right now, and I know I'm behind all the other content creators breathlessly talking about all the ships in this report, so let me join them. Here goes. First up, the Gatak Aurelian dropped into pre-production. So for those doing the math, that means the Raelin should be dropping around IEE or SitCon of next year. That would be 2026, not 2025. And some of the team was bounced over to the Drake Ironclad, which again is the precursor to the Kraken entering production. And funny, I mentioned the Kraken because the Kraken also entered production. Normally, the ship sprint is 18 months. So will it only take them 18 months to bust out this monstrosity of a ship? I mean, maybe, but unlikely. It'll probably be 2 years out like the Polaris. I don't think 3. They've gotten better at making these things, and Drake has a pretty well-developed style guide, especially if they're making the Ironclad at the same time. So I would say probably 2027 for the Kraken. If they get it out by 2026, though, well, I mean, maybe I will get my BMM before I turn into dust. But I'm not bitter. Anyway, there's always a chance I could get a Kraken privateer as a loaner, and I'll take that. For the Ironclad, yeah, that's more likely for IAE or SitCon of 2026, though. And I think they'll probably drop the Raelin at one and the Ironclad at the other. So next year will be lit. The Perseus, which is another one that I'm looking forward to, is hitting its gray box review, which I think is one of the last steps before they start polishing it up for a release. Just remember that the Perseus isn't a really small ship, so even the polish stage could take a few months. Still, IAE of this year is a pretty good outside window, although I think it might be able to drop earlier, but IAE would be my safe bet. The Apollo hit Lot 0, which means that it's likely dropping before IAE and SitCon, but I have no idea when it might be dropping. September, maybe? Couple months? Seems like a good chance. Okay, so then on to the unknowns, one of which is actually pretty well known. The RSI Comet, which is a heavy fighter on the Manus chassis, which hopefully future Mike remembers to put in the concept images here, is probably dropping with the next patch, so within the next week or two. So that's the one that's on its finishing touches before release stage. Beyond that, we have 4 more that we really don't know what they are. 2 are well into gray box, which probably means they're being sized up for IAE. What are they? I mean, probably one of the ships on the blue side scroll. We still have a few of those left. There's one from a prominent manufacturer, which really could be any of them, but probably means RSI, but it could be Drake too. It sort of seems like those are the 2 ships, manufacturers that they're focusing on in the last year. But yeah, if it's Drake, probably that weird snail ship. And yeah, I'm calling it the snail ship until we see otherwise. And then a ship that has the record, and this is what it actually says in the report, for the fastest ship through the pipeline. That means it's either really small or one they've released a lot of variants for already, or it's really simple, but I don't know, maybe a racing variant of the Guardian, a salvage variant of the Atlas. Either of those would make sense, but again, who could say? Well, I mean, CIG could if they stopped making every single ship hidden from production or hidden from view. And the Prowler utility had some bug smushing push through for it. This team also exists. Tons of bar citizens around the world. And seriously, if one drops in your area, you should probably hit up a bar citizen. It's a good place to meet fellow nerds and talk about nerd stuff. and contests. And this team also worked on the posts like the monthly report, which I'm reading now, which is one of the few places we're still getting solid information about the production of this project. Radiation and hazard areas, which have been on the menu for years now, are starting to be implemented. So we're finally seeing how CIG will get us out of our ultra powerful spaceships to confront ground-based challenges. They also got the freight elevators working with the Atlas, the ATLS. So hopefully we're not too far off from the elevator that will allow us to bring up ground vehicles, the one that they showed off at SitCon, rather than having to play musical chairs with them in our hangars and hoping they don't despawn when you call up the ship that you want to put them all on. So it sounds like they're also focusing on cleaning up bodies that are just being left around everywhere and making the freight elevators work properly. They're working on escort missions for cap ships, which, given that we're getting the Perseus this year, and the fact that the Idris and the Polaris are both in game now, well, kind of makes sense that there be some missions that are kind of focused to account for that. They're obviously going gangbusters with the pretty much monthly events now. They're also working on infiltration missions, so we'll finally be able to realize our Hitman dreams in Star Citizen locales. Finally, it looks like we're not delusional. There's not enough missions generating, and they're looking into why. Like mission design, the narrative team has been pretty crazy busy crafting out stories for the events and missions rolling out with the new patches. The online tech team is still hammering away at getting us to dynamic server meshing, which is probably honestly what this project is really hinging on, at least the MMO portion. Hugely important, but there's not a lot else to say here. This team is also working on the quality of life stuff for patches, and yeah, I mean, the latest patches have seemed way more stable than previous years, at least for me. R&D is continuing to push out their cloud tech, and I'm guessing the weather tech isn't too far behind it. Atmospheric reflections, just, yeah, I mean, no matter what you think of this project, Star Citizen has always been just a breathtakingly beautiful game. And for a long, long time, it was just a beautiful tech demo. This team is one of the lead reasons why this game is breaking so many boundaries, at least in the looks department. Weather and the irradiated Valakar seem to be the bulk of this team's work for this last month, which, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And gang, that's it for this one. Let me know what you think in the down below bits, or if you think I missed something or nailed something, that sort of thing. Till then, catch you next time.